Hi, my name is Ben Cupello, and thank you for taking the time to learn more about the Gilda's Club and the recent fundraiser that we are currently in progress. We are going to be selling calendars until they run out, and I'd like you to listen and hear a little bit more about what the calendar was for and how it came about, and a little bit about the Gilda's Club as well. So I'll start with the Gilda's Club. The Gilda Club is a nonprofit agency in the Simcoe area that helps support families and people, individuals who are diagnosed with cancer and just may need somewhere to go. Many of us, like myself, have a great network of family and friends and may be well versed in what to do when they find out the diagnosis of cancer, but not everyone is. So the Gilda Club provides that free of charge to people when they come in. They also have a lot of work sessions. They work a lot with families and children. During the winter, they have things like tree lighting ceremonies. And one of the bigger things that they've done in the last few years is a raw and reflective calendar. And when I heard about the calendar originally, I really wanted to be a part of it. However, I was teaching at the time, currently retired. Very happy. So I thought maybe I'll do it after I retire. And the reason being is when people look at the calendar at first, it seems like it was a shock value, but it's not. It's basically a calendar that lets people tell their story in their own words to create a little bit of an awareness behind what they went through and how they came through their struggles. Maybe they're still in their struggles. So it's really a conversation starter is basically what the goal of it was. We're currently in the 5th year of the calendar, and this year I am Mr. September, and I am glad to be a part of it. The calendars sell for $25, and they're available either through the Gilda's Club website, or you can contact me directly through my email at bcupello@simpatico.ca. So it's bcupello@simpatico.ca, and I'll make sure I get it to you. If you live out of town or out of the area and you want it to be delivered, there's just a $5 surcharge for that. But if you're anywhere that I can get it to you, I will make sure that happens. So one of the reasons I got involved is once I knew that I was retiring from teaching, it's always been a goal of mine to continue volunteering in the community. I've been volunteering for many years, sort of part-time or haphazard when I could. I've done a lot of volunteering even before I came to the Barrie area in my hometown of Sault Ste. Marie. But when I got here, life gets in the way, and your work and your kids, and I've did some small volunteers. I tried to do one a year. But when this one came along, I knew for sure it was something that I wanted to do. So we got a hold of the people who made it happen, Sharon Smith, Aaron Lutz, and this is what our project is. We printed about 300 calendars, and they're available through either Connect Hair Studio. Some of the other locations include the Gilda's Club itself. I have about 5 or 6 available at my house right now at any time, and then as ordered through their website. All the funds go directly to support Gilda's Club and the programs that they do. Everything, again, from working with families, information sessions. Even if you just have questions and you don't know where to turn, you often don't get that much time in your doctor's offices or with your chemo team or radiation team, whatever it is that you're going through with the chemo diagnosis. So just having somewhere else to turn. That's how I kind of got a hold of the Gilda's Club at first. I was diagnosed at a young age. I was 36, and I just didn't know where to go from there other than the team that I had at the RVH. I felt that I was sort of out of the loop, and I'm glad I did, because my first chemo session was slated to be in the Toronto area. It was actually January 1st of the new year, and in talking with the team at the Gilda's Club, I was informed that once my chemo started, it could be something that could be transferred back to the Barrie area, and which made my chemo treatments much easier in order to get back and forth, especially in the winter and having young children. So I thank them for that. But they're just a welcoming group, and at any time, if you need their support, member or non-member, are welcome to ask questions and come to any of their events. You can find their website They are very informative with pamphlets and also one-on-one support, small group support. So definitely something that if these calendars continue to sell as they have been in the last 5 years, the money raised will help to continue any of that. Well, I mean, getting diagnosed with cancer, even though I think everyone knows someone either in their family or through work or through a sports team that's been given the diagnosis, until you get it yourself, you don't realize how much of an impact it has on you personally and on your family. The weight that you carry in terms of, where do I go next? What do I do? What am I supposed to do? Those are all challenges. And when you're faced with the diagnosis in the first place, you're not, 100% thinking straight, and you might be fearful. So the best thing to do is to reach out with people who've had experience, and the people at Gilda's Club is definitely a place to start. You can reach out to them from anything that you think might be a silly question, or you might reach out to them and tell them that you need support. You may need support organizing your transportation. You may need support reading a little bit more about the diagnosis that you received. You may have some questions about best places for treatment, or you just might need someone to sit and listen, because the burden sometimes on your family is quite difficult. They're with you all the time along the path, and they can't really be non-judgmental, or they can't really have they're doing their best to try to keep you positive. It's nice to just get an outside opinion and some outside information about what it is, what you're going to be facing, and it's also really nice to hear the success stories, and that's why this calendar is very important. And unfortunately, not everyone has success with cancer. Some people are still going through it. Some people have made it to the other side. But unfortunately, we've lost a lot of loved ones, myself included. I lost both my dad and my father-in-law to cancer. So it's very personal to me. And knowing that there's someone in the community that understands that you can reach out to makes life a lot easier once the diagnosis is received, that's for sure. So people often wonder why I do so much volunteering in the community, and why that it was a goal of mine when I retired. And the answer is pretty simple. Without volunteers like myself and like many people in the calendar, some of these organizations that don't have enough funding just couldn't exist. Having a team of volunteers doing anything from stuffing mastectomy kits, or putting on a light show, or maybe organizing a Christmas festival, or just having workshops, those are all done by volunteers. And we get to a point where we have everything in the life that we need, and we know that paying it forward and giving back is very, very important. And one of the mottos of the Gilda's Club is, we do what we do so that no one has to face cancer alone. I mean, and that's so big. I mentioned it earlier in this interview that some people are fortunate to have a network, but not everybody is. And even those that do have a network, sometimes you just need that little bit extra from an outside agency to get you over that hurdle. It might be a fear that you have. It might be questions that were unanswered. It might be more information about your diagnosis. So volunteers who work in places like the Gilda Club and other organizations that we're lucky enough to have in the Simcoe area really make up the bulk of that organization and how they run and how they exist. We rely lots on personal funding, contribution, fundraisers, gifts in kind. So if you do have time and it is something that you're interested in, seek out Libby Torrance from the Gilda's Club, or Aaron Lutz, and they'd be glad to give you information about how you can get involved. And it doesn't have to be something that you feel is overwhelming. You can do something as small as a one-day event. You may do something as following up with phone calls. You might be doing something packaging and mailing out of these calendars. So your level of contribution doesn't have to be gun-ho and over the top where you feel burdened by it, or that it's taking up too much of your time, because every person who spends any amount of time doing some volunteering, I mean, what we get in return is more than we give out. I say that all the time. It's one of the other reasons I volunteer. But also, many hands make light work. I learned that from teaching. I learned that from, other activities that I've been involved with, other fundraisers that I've done, other volunteer organizations that I've been with. And when you get to see the amount of people that are behind the scenes, that's when you're really fascinated with, wow, I'm really glad that there are volunteers out there. I just came back from an appointment myself today at RVH. Couldn't find my way around that building because I hadn't been there in a while, and you look for the blue vests. Sure enough, volunteers are telling me where to go and what elevators to take and what blue line to follow. And so in all different levels, there's a need for volunteers. So if that's something you're interested, please consider that. All right, so I'm just going to give you a quick preview of the calendar. All the people that are in the calendar have volunteered. And so have the photographers, which makes this, it's such an amazing progress when you pair up a photographer with a new person, especially doing a calendar like this. It's really neat how the bond becomes between that photographer and that client or that person doing it. Also, the stories. The stories are the big part of this calendar as well. People tell in their own words what their story was about, and the theme of this year's calendar was purpose. So what was the purpose that they felt? How did they feel about their diagnosis? What how it contributed to maybe finding some kind of purpose in their life. I also want to thank the many sponsors that are involved in getting something like this together. There are quite a bit of sponsors. There's sponsors for each page, there's sponsors for the printing, there's sponsors who just contributed to the overall production of it. There's videographers that have done some print work and some media work to get the, and then we also have the wonderful sponsors such as Rogers, and we have, all the radio stations involved. It's a big event, and Sharon Smith, Greg Smith from Connect Hair Studio are just magnets when it comes to attracting the right people and getting something like this off the ground. So if I can find my page, I just want to give you a quick peek at that one. There we go. And I find it apropos because I'm holding an apple and I am in my school library at the school, and it is a big, they asked us to, choose an area that you have a lot of connection with, a lot of memories behind, meant a lot to you. And after spending over 25 years in that building, I felt that was a great place to do it. So again, thanks to everybody who's involved. Thank you to everybody out there who's taking the time to listen to this story. And I hope that you can contribute any way you can, whether it's doing a little bit of volunteer work, whether it's just finding out a little bit more about the Gilda's Club. But ultimately, if you can purchase a calendar, we'd love if you can do that too. Happy holidays, everyone.